Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. President Trump's domestic policy bill has permanently eliminated the so-called de minimis tax exemption, which allows shipments to U.S. businesses and consumers valued under $800 to enter the U.S. free of duty and taxes. The elimination takes effect on August 29th and will likely impact a number of industries, most notably shoes and clothing and cosmetics. Joining us now is Dr. Danielle Testa from ASU's Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, better known as FIDM. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Now, did I explain, is that what the de minimis tax exemption really is?
It is, yeah. It is. Historically, de minimis actually, roughly, I don't speak Latin, but is Latin for too small to matter. So for really small shipments, that saves time at importing to not have to really go through the duty process.
And when really small shipments, we mean under $800.
Correct. So historically, that value was a lot lower. It actually was increased to $800 in around 2015 to actually increase global trade, allow more shipping of goods from other countries.
So smaller parcels can get into the U.S. duty-free, or will at least until August 29th here. It sounds like it was a loophole. Is it a loophole?
You know, you could call it a loophole. It's a matter of perspective, I suppose, if you call it a loophole or not. Like I said, so in 2015, the value was increased to $800. It actually started back in, I want to say like 1938, and it was about $1. So it was really meant for these trivial items you were bringing into the country. And it wasn't necessarily thought of a loophole when it was increased to that value, but was to encourage economic activity, to encourage more items to come in. So I like to think of things of like, if you do want to buy a crafted item on Etsy from a seller in Germany, you don't have to worry about the duties as a person-to-person seller. So it really allowed these sort of cross-country sales to happen. And that was kind of what this $800 allowed. Now, it wasn't just for individuals, it's for big business too. So
sure.
Any sort of business, if it's under $800.
Is it the kind of thing, though, where it has to be, you have to be there when it comes across, it has to come across in an individual package? What were the rules?
It didn't have to be to an individual, so it could be what we call direct-to-consumer. So if I'm shopping a big retailer that took advantage of the de minimis opportunity was Temu, so they sold direct to consumers. So it was under $800, sent straight to the consumer. They were able to utilize that opportunity. But it could also go to a business. If I was ordering something for a small, medium, or large business and it was valued under $800, I also would be able to use that.
But if you were ordering something valued under $800 and you wanted 50 of these things, did you have to order them individually to get under that tax?
Yes, you would have to have separate orders, and that is something that is being looked at in was looked at in the changes before it was completely repealed. Of is there ways we look at the changing of the de minimis policy of if there's so many orders in a time frame, and honestly, part of why I think it was just taken away is because there are too many ways to work around this. You know, if I order $800 3 times in a day.
That's well, and I want to get to that in a second here. But as far as just eliminating it, this means that nothing is too small to matter. This means that if it is $5, you got to go through the whole process, correct?
It does. So everything is now subject to tariff and duty, which has major implications for the direct-to-consumer businesses. So especially one that we talk about a lot in fashion are these fast fashion, or what I like to think of as ultra-fast fashion, because you're Shein and Temu, where they're selling a lot of really small parcels direct-to-consumer, and those are now all subject. So they're actually changing their supply chain. They're changing the way they're managing their goods. They're looking at domestic partnerships with importers so that they're housing a lot of the goods now in the U.S. and looking at how do we move big shipments, much like traditional fashion and retail would do it, where you hold it in a warehouse here.
But if you do hold that in a warehouse here and you make sure the point of origin is here, doesn't that mean that this makes sense? And that's the goal, is to get more business in America.
And that is one of the benefits of this change. It does create, you know, with policy changes, there are many things that we can see shifting, but when we think about the big businesses and how they're impacted by this in fashion, these ultra-fast fashion brands like Shein and Temu, they are shifting to more of a traditional fashion retail model, and it does create more opportunity for other US-based retailers. I also like to think of it compared to our other sectors of fashion retail. I always think of Shein and Temu, like I use the term ultra fast fashion because they're putting out so much product so quickly.
Yeah.
They don't have physical retail stores, so they're not launching collections. They're not styling product in the way that a lot of our traditional fast fashion retailers even still did.
Interesting.
So they're creating, by revoking the de minimis exemption, they are leveling the playing field a little bit by requiring this extra attention, creating this landing in the U.S., and also there is a price increase that we will see as consumers.
But and also not just these companies, but the little person, the person in Romania making something on Etsy, and everyone selling something overseas on eBay. Those now get affected.
Yes, and that's one of the areas that in fashion space we're most kind of concerned about is the small businesses, because they're the ones that have the hardest time reacting to it. They're not as versed with global trade policy, and if the U.S. isn't a huge part of their business, but they're selling some to the U.S., they're likely to lose some customers that they ship here, and the customer's goods get held up because the duty wasn't paid on it, and all of a sudden USPS is contacting that customer saying, hey, you owe a duty, you owe an import fee on this good, and that customer is of course unhappy that they didn't know. So it's challenging for these individual retailers as we navigate the changes.
And no one likes delays, especially when you're ordering online. Who pays the duty now? Will the business pay it? Will the consumer pay it? Is it just wait and see?
Ultimately, the consumer pays it, but it's a matter of whether it's baked into the retail price.
Right, right.
So unfortunately, that is typically what we're seeing, and what brands are looking at is putting that into the retail price. That's why we're seeing the price increases. Shein has already increased their prices of roughly 30% across their website. It varies by product category, but taking into account where goods are coming from, the different tariff rates based on product category, things like that. But so it does come through in the cost of goods.
So when it comes through in the cost of goods, what does it mean as far as the economy is concerned?
So we already are seeing some consumers hold back on shopping a little bit. So they are still out and shopping. What's interesting, actually, from fashion specifically, so when I talk about fashion, apparel, accessories, and footwear, we actually saw prices drop this summer. We didn't see a price increase. But the reason for that is logical from an industry standpoint. When we were buying goods, we buy goods a year in advance as brands.
Okay.
So when everything was purchased by a retailer, they didn't know that there was going to be changes to policy. So what happened when summer hit is we took huge markdowns. But consumers are unsure, and spending comes back a little bit. It does encourage some more thought, and from a consumption standpoint, there's a benefit to that as well. We have a consumption kind of problem as consumers, I suppose, where we like to buy a lot. So that might not be a bad thing, where maybe we buy more purposely, but it does create that consideration.
Last question here. Exemptions, I guess, increased to $1 billion in 2023. In other words, hundreds of millions of packages we're getting around this. Obviously, that's, as you mentioned, the dynamics will change big time. Is there a way in which you maybe put a little bit of a ceiling in there so that if you don't buy something for $5, you don't have to go through all the... Is this the be-all and end-all? Do you think this is going to be addressed again sometime down the road by Congress?
I do. I don't, if we're talking policy, I don't think there ever is really an end-all, be-all.
Right.
And fashion particularly is always changing, always updating, especially, fast fashion as a sector that's really been affected by this. It's changed every decade significantly.
Well, and I hate to interrupt you here because we're running out of time, but I do want to ask you about that. What does this mean? This is purely non-economics here. What does it mean about fashion? Will fashion change in a different way?
Definitely. Fashion is constantly changing. I mean, one of the questions I'm even asking right now is fashion even just what you wear anymore? If you look at fashion brands, they're selling home goods, they're talking about skateboards, they're talking about your luggage. So what is fashion? How are we going to sell it to goods? Is it going to be the packages that it comes in is also part of the fashion good, and that's part of how we ship it and how we think about what's delivered? I mean, fashion in and of itself is the expression, the item, and how we interact with it. So I think it's going to constantly evolve. And how we get that good to consumer is one piece of the puzzle.
Wow. Danielle Testa, ASU, FITM, again, fashion industry, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's good to have you here. Good information.
Thank you for having me. Fantastic.